Here we go.
The value of internships is underrated and often misunderstood. Internships also, unfortunately, get a bad rap because so many people think it's a way for companies to get cheap and, unfortunately, free labor. And that interns are also the lowest employees who are basically there just to fetch coffee, run errands, and, well, eat leftovers, quite frankly. If you listen carefully to what Troy and I are going to be talking about tonight, you should be able to easily avoid those bad experiences because we don't want you to have them. Now, most innovative companies and desirable workplaces do have internships. And if you're just starting out in your career or looking to even make a career change, midlife, quarter life, three quarters life, 90% change in life, wherever you are in life, there's something out there for literally everybody and anybody. But you got to know where to look. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Speaking of companies that offer internships, you may have seen movies where the interns are going to work for Google. There's Amazon internships, there's Walmart, even Home Depot, we found out, has internship programs, which is pretty cool. And while none of them are going to pay you six-figure salary to start anyhow, hopefully later, they can be an excellent starting place for launching your career and especially moving ahead in life. Now, that's why the goal of this conversation that Troy and I are going to be having with you tonight is to discuss not only the value of internships, but to provide you with the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how of the how on how to find and get into an internship program. And this is all based on real life experiences and expertise. This is not guessing. This is things that Troy and I both went through quite a bit. Now, the reason you need to hear all of this is so that you, or even someone you know that may be younger, can be that much more in the know about the value of internships, because that is the title of what we're talking about. Now, speaking of value, I should tell you that we're going to be discussing 8 to 10 major components or parts of internships. And if you do find value in what we're talking about, make sure to smash the thumbs up and definitely subscribe, because in reality, I'm still in the internship phase of my YouTube journey and I need your support too. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Now, with me is Troy Heiner. And Troy was in charge of, you know what, Troy, I'm doing it again. I'm doing all the talking. All right, kick in here. Give me a break. So, Troy, what'd you do for the last 4 years?
All right. So for the last 4 years of my federal government career, I was both the Signals Intelligence Collection Program Summer Internship Coordinator. That's a mouthful. Wow. And the director of a mid-career development program fellowship. But we're just going to focus on the internship program for the duration of this conversation, at least. So the purpose of the summer internship program was to provide a 12-week opportunity for roughly 24 college students annually every summer. And by the way, over 1,500 applicants would apply for this opportunity every year. So it was really competitive and really
That's
desirable.
A really low acceptance ratio, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So if you made it into the front door after going through the entire process, and I'll get into that a little bit as well, you achieved something great, really. Something that was going to stand out really well on your resume.
Ooh, that resume.
And, yeah. So, and our program actually put interns to work in development organizations in order for them to directly produce a lasting contribution to the agency's mission. Some internships had you do research or write a paper. There was no real tangible outcome or output from the experience. Here, you were leaving a legacy behind. You'd go back to school, and whatever you worked on was going to continue to function within the agency mission for years, maybe even decades to come. So that was pretty cool. And we had 30 or more different work assignments that were available to the interns, and they were throughout the agency. And we accepted students from a wide variety of majors. We had computer science majors, data science majors, cybersecurity majors, engineering majors, mathematics, physics. The list goes on. And some of the interns even had an opportunity to work in the field away from headquarters. So if they were like from Colorado or Texas or someplace like that, and they didn't want to necessarily travel to the DC area for an internship opportunity, there were ways for them to work and live at home for the summer and still have a pretty good, work experience for the summer.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and we were the only summer internship program that offered that opportunity. We had kind of that global focus.
Wow.
So, to wrap things up, 90% of the interns that we had in our program returned either for a second internship opportunity the following summer, or to enter into an early career development program with our agency, or to a full-time position. In fact, 75% of my former agency's early career new hires came from internships and early career development programs. And since every employee at my former agency required a security clearance, and those are costly and they take a long time to complete, the internships were the most effective way for my company, my agency, to ensure the people that we hired were a good fit for our agency, and for the intern to determine if the agency was a good fit for them.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I was not actually an intern, right? I ran an internship program. I was a co-op student to start my career. But I was curious, to earn those degrees behind you there, Steve, did you have to participate in any internships?
I actually did. Yes. Yeah. Since my college degree, my original one, and my master's degrees, two of them were mostly educational based, I did participate in 6 internships. That's quite a few. Some people do 2. I did 6. I kind of overkill it. But that's who I am. My commitment's pretty high. And I wasn't young when I did.
Kind of makes you an internship expert.
Yeah, in a way. Yes. Yeah, definitely. But the last one, this is the best part. The very last internship I did led straight into the current teaching gig I'm doing at the major university where I teach now. But those weren't my first. I did 2 in high school, way back when I was 18 years old, back, before dinosaurs turned to oil last century. But those internships were a huge life-altering, changing path. This is where you're going type experience. And I got in a 6-week program with WMMS in Cleveland. And in that year, I'm going to say the year, so already do your math. In 1979, WMMS was the #1 station in America. We were beating Rick Dees out of LA. And for those of you who don't know who that is, you got to Google him. But he was the guy. But WMMS, oh my gosh, any new group coming to Cleveland went through them to get on the air. But it was a huge life changer. It literally altered my life. But one of the big things to get into that, and we're going to talk about all these things of getting into these internships too tonight, is I had 2 years working fast food. And you might say, well, it's just fast food. Yeah, but that means I showed up to work for 2 years. From the time I was 16 and you were allowed to officially work back then, you had to have a work permit. I had some responsibility. And before that, I had paper routes as a kid. So I had some work experience, and I don't remember the interview process because I think I was living on cloud 52. There's cloud 9. I was on cloud 52 because to be there at that radio station, being a young man back then, it was off the chart. Literally, it was off the chart. So it was just amazing.
So you actually had some work experience prior to your internships, right?
Yeah, the first 2 and the other ones especially. I had a lot of life experience in teaching into phys ed and into communications and teaching first year experience and the things I'm teaching now on my channels. It definitely helped out. Ben, who brought me in, he's like, hey, can you teach a class? I'm like, sure. Can you teach a couple? Sure. He says, all right, here's 5 things you have to teach. What are 9 other things you want to teach? I was like, oh, don't move. And that's where the wheel of success came in. And that's another story. But yeah, that's how that started. So it all came up there.
But since you had experience prior to, and it wasn't necessarily directly related, in some instances it was, but that is seemingly the biggest problem with job hunting today, is that catch-22. My kids experience it. Is how do you get experience for the job that you want when you need experience to get the opportunity to get the job that you want in the first place?
That sounds like a real problem. Oh, we're going to talk about that too in just a little bit. We're covered. We got you covered on all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. So, hey, before we go further, let's clarify what an internship is and what an internship isn't, because these are 2 very important distinctions. So here's point number 1.
Yeah. What is an internship?
The reality. What is it?
So, there are paid and unpaid internships. And
wait, you get paid to do something for free? That's how it was. I never got paid. Nobody paid. I mean, I got donuts. I got some coffee, a lot of coffee, actually. I don't think I ever ate leftovers because they weren't mine. I don't know. The green stuff on top was not frosting. Usually it was mold. But you can actually get paid. And I
Yes.
do know this. I'm kidding. But yeah, I
Yes.
know you can get paid. Yeah.
Yeah, my internship program was a paid internship, and it also paid for travel to and from, right? So if you were a student in California, we paid for you to come to Maryland to work for the summer, and we also paid for you to actually come for the interviews and the clearance processing and all that kind of stuff as well.
Incredible. Yeah. Hey, there's a report, and I'll link it in the description. It was a report done by the Harvard Business Review. If I'm wrong on that, it's in the description. I'll have that. But in 2021, so it's just 2 years ago, so we'll call this very current, it was reported that 43% of internships just in America were unpaid. That means 57% were paid internships. Now, you see on YouTube all the time, I got paid $75,000 a year for my internship. Yeah, one other guy you hit the lottery, because I don't think you get $75,000 for an internship. Now,
no, certainly not. We're interning with the government.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think. I think it had something to do with probably Elon Musk or something. Somebody very rich and
like I mentioned, the travel was paid for, but there was a day not too long ago that was not considered taxable income, but now it is.
Well, of course, you got to tax.
So that is the surprise that interns find out, is like, oh, I got paid, but now that means I have to pay taxes.
So wait.
Oh no.
Speaking of interns, all right. Point number 2. Let's get into this one. Who should get into an internship? Because we talk about people that are paying taxes, but is it kids, adults, young adults, old adults? Who should get in?
Well, generally, when you think of internships, you're thinking of students, right? People who are completing their educational process, getting a degree, and moving out for the first time into the working world. And because you need experience before you get that first full-time job, before you graduate, that's the perfect time to take an internship. And that's exactly who we were targeting with our internship program that I used to run, was college students. Mostly undergraduate college students, but we did accept some students that were going for their masters, or even a couple of people that were going for their doctorates.
Yeah, because going for the masters, I can testify to my expertise in this, is they were essential, and it wasn't right up at graduation. It was throughout the program, and you fit them in based on when you had time and can take the extra hours, because they do consume a lot of work. I remember one, it was only 15 hours a week minimum, and they didn't want you to do more than like 20 because there was a bunch of people and they didn't want it overcrowded. Right. Plus, that means the adults on the job had to watch the kids on the job, even though I was twice the age as some of the adults on the job, which is kind of weird. There were others that were, I remember I was a supervisor for other students in the program. That was my internship as a supervisor, watching the other students, how they worked with the children in one of the disability school I was at. Very, very difficult internship. I don't even want to get into that. It'll make me cry. It was a very, very sad experience. It was rewarding, but it was very sad. It was very difficult. So for me, it was rewarding because I helped the students who are maybe now they're teaching. I don't know. So I didn't know most of them that were there. So why should we participate in an internship? That'd be the next number 3. Why would we participate?
Of course, right? We only came up with excellent questions, but the primary reason for taking an internship on is it's a opportunity to try out something, right? So it's to see if you like the company, the work, the people, the culture, the environment. Mm-hmm. But also it's a way, as I alluded to, it's a way for the company to see if you're a good fit. And it's an opportunity for them to sell themselves to you. It's like, hey, isn't this a cool place to work? Wouldn't you want to work here full time once you graduate? Or, at the end of this internship, we may offer you a position, right? Ooh. That's certainly something that we talked about.
Internships can lead to a job, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which means real money. So even if you work for free, you get real money later, hopefully.
Yep. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things we promised our summer interns in the program that I ran. We said, before you go back to school, we're going to make sure that you have at least one job offer in hand.
That's a pretty good thing. So
Yeah.
that's a definite why you should participate. That's the real value of the internship. Now, when is a good time? You mentioned just prior to graduation, but are there any other times when somebody should participate in an internship, say in different walks of life, different
Right.
seasons of life?
Yeah. So, the answer to when should you participate in an internship, we came up with the almost stereotypical answer. It depends.
It does depend.
So, there's no single perfect internship that's going to work for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Just like there's multiple different versions of internships that cater to different people. So it's the same thing. It depends where you are in your career, what type of internship you should pursue.
Mm-hmm.
You should, for example, if you're already in your mid-career and you're looking to change careers, you may not want to take the same kind of internship that a college student might be pursuing.
Yeah.
Maybe if you are actually going to, I'm going to learn all this AI stuff and become, a ChatGPT prompt engineer, right? There aren't even classes. I think probably in the fall there'll be classes, but there aren't current classes that you could take at a university to teach you how to be a ChatGPT prompt engineer. It's just too freaking new.
I'm going to make the call and say universities probably don't want to teach that, because that means they're making kids theoretically smarter on how to circumvent the cheating. Because I tell my students, you use it and I catch you, it's an F. There's no second chances on do your own work. You can use it for ideas, but do not use it to produce papers.
Yeah, that's a different. Yeah, because just like ChatGPT can be used to write a paper, it can be used to detect if it was used to write a paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's already, I saw something in the news today. There's a lawsuit of a guy. Actually, it was my last name. I'm not going to say his first name, but I was like, wait, that's my last name. But it said something derogatory about him in a post that was created through OpenAI. So there's gonna be some issues coming up with that one. So it'll be interesting.
Hey, I have to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going off on a tangent, so you stopped me. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, we're trying to stop our tangents, because actually, do they have internships for going off on tangents? Yeah, they do. So don't go off on the tangent on your internship. Now, is there a time, speaking of staying on tangents, when shouldn't you take an internship?
So this comes off of maybe a little bit, humorous, but if you're addicted to your current salary level, it's probably not a good time to focus on trying to get an internship. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So generally speaking, when you're doing something new, it's going to require, somewhat of a decrease in your salary level, because you're basically, it's an entry level type position, is what internships generally tend to be. So if you're accustomed to making X and the internship pays less than X, and you still got to pay the bills and the mortgage and the car payment and all that kind of stuff, that's probably not a good time, because really what an internship is focused towards is not your current earning potential, but your future earning potential. So if you want to increase,
that was important. Say that again.
Yeah. So I will say that again. So, and I'm sorry, my background keeps going to sleep. So an internship is focused on increasing your future earning potential, not your current earning potential.
Interesting.
So if you are focused on making sure that your current earning potential is as high as it can be, you should be pursuing actual jobs as opposed to internships.
Very interesting. Wow. Where would I even find internships? Oh yeah, that's another point. But where
to find them?
Yeah, do you just look up in the sky and?
Well, in today's world, Google, right? That's where a lot of them will, just Google internships, and you will be amazed at what you will find. You and I did that, and we were amazed. Home Depot has internship.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. Hey, this is the nail department. This is welding, and this is doors and windows. I mean, there's got to be more to it than, Home Depot is more than the store. There's got to be a whole infrastructure.
Right. There's a whole back office and logistics and everything, right?
So have got to be insane.
Right.
Um,
But if you're still in school, an excellent place to start is to go to the career services department at your university,
yep.
or talk to your academic advisor. But certainly, if you just say, I want to look for an internship opportunity to do, I don't know, cybersecurity. We'll take my example, right?
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a
Right.
really
So,
good one. Yeah.
right. So, yeah, because it's a growing career field. And things like AI and ChatGPT and everything kind of have a little part to play in that.
Mhm.
But that is basically how you could create a list of internships that you might want to consider. And then you have to use some analytic process to kind of winnow that down to something you actually might want to pursue more forcefully.
And it's actually it's a job hunt in a way. Now, if you've never had a job
Hmm.
and you don't know how to look for a job, obviously find an advisor. If you don't have
Right.
advisors at your school, and unfortunately they're not everywhere, talk to your teachers, talk to your parents, talk to your friends, your neighbors. Walk into a store, walk into Ace Hardware is something that's popping into my head, and say, "Hey, do you have internships?" Ace Hardware, it's a practical thing. You have to know a lot to actually work there. You're not just a shelf stocker. You got to know
Hmm.
stuff. Got to know how to answer the questions. There's also places online. We're not going to
Right.
list those now. We're not affiliated with any of these, but I will promote one. LinkedIn is a
Right.
major one, and a lot of my students, I get first year students in college, so a lot of them, they've heard of LinkedIn. Very few of them actually use it. They think, well, it's just not something you're going to use when you're younger. But if you are a super go getter and you get in early, it's really good, because when you can build your network, that's how you find internships. So you got to build
Right.
this network. When I have students that are like, yeah, I've been trying to network out. Well, using what? TikTok? No, no, sorry. I'm going to say probably not. I don't want to say definitely not. I'm just going to say probably not, because it depends who you're
Hmm.
reaching and where they're at. And if you want to travel the world, TikTok reaches the world, not all of
Right.
the world, actually, come to think about it. But there's quite a few places. Wouldn't be a good source, but LinkedIn definitely would work. And I'll leave a couple links. Troy provided me with some links, and I'll put in the description
Yeah, and
of the
another
link.
thing that came to mind too is I remember when I was an engineering student, they encouraged us to join, engineering professional associations, and that's another
Ah,
way that maybe you can figure out because some of those professional associations, like IEEE or whatever, they sponsor internship programs themselves
yeah.
and
Speaking of internship,
scholarships.
yeah, this triggers the next question. I got to jump into this one, because what do we look for in an internship? I mean, let's say I'm an 18, 19-year-old guy, and I need an internship to go into, say, accounting.
Hmm.
What am I looking for?
Yeah, so a really good place to start would be, Google accounting internships. Um,
Oh, something I'm
yeah,
going
so you wouldn't
into.
just want to
Yeah.
just say internships and then say, "Oh, look, I can intern
The
at
local nursery mill doing
yeah,
flowers and bushes and learning
or,
arbor stuff, how to trim trees.
yeah,
Probably not for accounting, though.
Abercrombie and Finch. Maybe
Yeah,
I don't know,
maybe.
but
Yeah. They do accounting, probably
they
not at
do
the local
accounting,
branch,
right?
but yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I was alluding to. If you go and create your list of internships that you might be interested in, then you really have to kind of take a look and winnow that down to which ones you're going to actively pursue.
Mhm. So, but make sure when we're looking for our internships, keep them in line with your area of interest. Don't say, well, it's kind of related. No, it needs to be related. I mean, you
Right.
can't say, well, I could connect it this way, because here's what's going to happen. Down the road, you're actually going to be doing our next topic, which, let's get into this one now, is how
Right.
do you get that internship? The reason you need this, it has to say it on your resume. This is what I did,
Yeah.
and this is where I did it, and this is who you got to put all that. And if it says you worked on a golf course learning to cut putting greens, but you're going to accounting, the two don't match up
Right.
unless
Like
it's
I
all
said
company.
before,
Yeah.
an internship is opening the door for future opportunities. So you want to make
Yeah.
sure that the experience that you get is relevant to what you want to do in the future.
Yep. Yep. So let's go over this up. Now, this is totally every topic we're talking about. We're going to probably do a future video, because each one of these,
Right.
we're doing thumbnail on this. I mean, some of these are just massive. I mean, we could do a whole series on these. The next one is a biggie. And actually, we're working on setting up an interview with somebody. I'm not going to give it away yet, but It's somebody who wrote a book that can help you with this topic. So watch for that coming out. Hopefully within, let's just say this summer, we're going to try to have that
Yeah.
done. So depending on schedules. So how to get an internship? We need an inquiry letter because you gotta, hey, Troy, do you have a job open? No. Okay. Next, you got to ask, right? So if
Right.
you don't ask, you're not going to get. The very next thing is you have to have prepared, and even before the inquiry letter, is a stereotypical cover letter set. And again, it's an entire video on its own. You need a resume and a CV or a CV. You don't need both. Like in my case, I use a CV, a curriculum vitae, for teaching. And some it's a straight resume. And there's again, there's entire channels dedicated to this stuff. And we'll get into this. We'll bring in a resume expert that can break it down to the much more common person's resume. So it's easier,
Right.
especially without experience. The other big thing is interviewing skills. Now, I was an employer. I had 74 employees with my one company. I did basic interviewing. I held the mirror up, breathe on it. Oh, steam, you're hired. Well, it wasn't quite that simple, but it was not near what Troy went through. So, Troy, what are some just quick things on interviewing before we get into the next one?
Um, the
What just
the
give me
biggest
like
piece
top
of the
five
biggest
things,
piece
yeah.
of advice that I give to anybody who's getting ready to interview for jobs is practice.
Mm.
And you don't think about, you know, did we have to practice before we did this video? Yes, we did, because we wanted to make sure that
Give
we
away our secrets.
confidently convey the information and the content that we are providing to our
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah.
right? We had to
Yeah.
practice it.
We
So
did.
same thing, right? The interview, the job, the hiring manager that you're having the interview with, that's the audience, and you have to practice how to speak to that audience so that way you leave a favorable impression and they might want to offer you a position.
And actually, I'm not totally positive on AI. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not totally for it because I'm old school. I still like people doing their own thing, but AI can actually help with interviewing. And we'll go back before
It can.
the new era of AI, before they called it that, and they just called it online practice. And what it was,
I had AI interview me
yeah,
a
and it
couple of
just
months ago.
says, tell me about a time when you had a problem with another coworker. How did you resolve it? And there's questions that you're not prepared for. It's not. So what'd you do? I worked. What'd you work at? Work. What'd you do at work? Well, I worked at my work. Goodbye. Next.
Right.
It's crazy. So another thing too, and again, we'll do an entire video on interviewing. There's, oh my God, it's endless. Now the other thing, Troy and I thought this was blue. It's actually the lights changing a little bit. It's I don't know what do you call it, tealy, but we talked about what to wear. So Troy's got his blue on. I thought in the dark it looks blue, but it's whatever. But we're similarly dressed. Let's put it that way. Dressing
Right.
for success. Again, we're going to invite in an expert on dress for success. I had a young student. She worked in clothing stores, mostly female clothing, and she had a lot of business gals come in to buy entire wardrobes for their job or a new career, new management. And she did some interesting speeches. It was, and it made me think, there's more to this. And one of the big things with dressing for success is people go, well, I don't have a job. How can I afford good clothes? I don't have that much money, or family's just barely making it. Hey, I get it. There are places that you can go that are secondhand clothes. And it doesn't sound appealing, but I know people that have told me if you go on certain days that the rich people are cleaning out their closets and dropping stuff off, it still has the tags on it, but you got to know when that is. So this person, I'm not going to say who it was, but they knew how to shop. I mean, they were expert secondhand shoppers, but realistically, if it's still got the tag on it, it's new.
Yeah.
But
Been
not
worn once,
everybody's into
maybe.
that. Yeah, maybe gently worn. And
Yeah.
there's some great clothes out there. I mean, guys, I remember my first real job post-military was for an insurance company. I remember I had on, it was some horribly plaid type shirt with checkers. I had on my corduroy jacket and the tie that was probably not tied very well. It was like, I mean, they taught us to tie it in boot camp, but it wasn't probably great. And my shoes probably were really shiny because I knew how to do that. But the guy actually gave me his credit card. He says, kid, you need to learn to dress. Here's my credit card. Go buy 3 suits at such and such a store. Bring me back the receipts of my card tomorrow. Nobody gives you their credit card. I impressed.
That's crazy.
So much. Yeah. I mean, my hair was
wild.
good because of the military cut, but the clothes were not good.
But it's funny. I did so much interviewing and so many. I probably hired close to 1,000 people in my career.
That's quite a few.
Yeah, and working for the government, we did not wear suits. At least not at the last agency that I worked at. There was an agency that I worked at where,
don't tell anybody you weren't Men in Black, right?
Yeah, no. I did work for a particular government outfit where casual Friday meant you got to wear a suit that wasn't blue. But but people would joke with me and say, "Hey, you're wearing a suit. Are you interviewing for a job?" It's like, no, I'm conducting interviews, and the people that are going to show up are probably going to wear a suit. And so I'm wearing a suit so that way they don't feel uncomfortable in the interview.
Yeah, that makes a difference. I used to teach in a suit and tie. Now, post-pandemic, I just wear a mock turtleneck when I teach, but that's my dress now. I mean, that's what I'm known for. I to teach in a polo, online I can do it, but face-to-face, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I will never teach in jeans. I wear dress slacks. Again, it's just my aura. It's my presence. I mean, you're talking to somebody that, I always say, pardon the pun, martial artist, I worked in pajamas with a belt and barefoot for 10 years. So that's my joke. And I did. I mean, teaching martial arts, that's what you wear. So,
right.
Hey,
so if
speaking of getting in, we got to jump ahead because I want to keep moving.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we can go off forever. we got videos coming up on this stuff. So I hired over 1,000 people. Technically I probably hired 80, 85 people in my life because I had a few companies. But what do you do once you're hired as an intern into an internship? What do? You show up at work and then what? You just stand there?
Yeah. So you can't have a casual attitude towards the internship. You have to treat it like it is a job, because it is. Whether you're getting paid or not, and hopefully you are getting paid something.
Yeah.
But treat it seriously. Treat it like it's going to lead to that next great opportunity that you want. Right. So be serious about it.
Yeah.
So especially, where I work, you couldn't take a cell phone in, but if you were sitting there, scrolling through your phone all day while you're supposed to be at work, that's not going to be a good reflection on you.
Well, right? What if all the other employees are doing that? Should you copy them?
Doesn't matter. You should model yourself after the person who is in charge, or the person who has the job that you might want at that company someday.
Who's sitting on their cell phone all day looking at cat memes. Yeah.
Well, they're probably going to get fired then if they're, if that's the position you want.
Get hold of their cell phone. Yeah.
Right. The people that are watching this channel are smart, right? Let's just say, they're maybe just a little bit smarter than the average bear. So they're and especially if they've watched your communication videos, their ability to perceive who's got it going on and who are kind of the slackers in the organization. Don't hang with the slackers, hang with the go-getters.
Yep.
Right. The internship, and I should have mentioned this earlier. The internship is the best way to build that professional network that you need to lead to future opportunities. So use the internship as an opportunity to meet as many movers and shakers of that company as you can, because if you make a favorable impression on them, even if you didn't sit down and have a formal interview with them, if you make a favorable impression on them, they may offer you a job.
Yeah. And the network building is really, really important. So what makes a good intern? Let's dig a little bit deeper into this. Now, again, we're going to be doing entire videos in this. But what makes an actual real good intern? What's the number one thing you think?
The biggest thing that I looked for my interns was they wanted to learn as much as possible. And they had an appetite for learning. They knew that they were there to learn as much about the agency as they possibly could. Yep. So they didn't shy away from doing above the call of duty, as it were. So you don't need to be, have naked ambition, because those kind of people turn me off.
Yeah.
But you have to have the professional attitude and the ability to learn and be productive. Right. Yep. A lot of the interns so I mentioned that we had 30 some odd different work programs that were available. usually within that first week of the summer internship, there was going to be some intern that was going to come to me and go, Troy, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I want to do something more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, hey, all these work packages were going to take people at least 12 weeks to do, right?
Yep.
And some of them are like, I finished already. Can I get something else? So we were just prepared for that. And then of course, as soon as we had somebody like that, it's like, all right, we got to make sure that they talk to this person, because they're probably going to want to offer them a job because
that's called communication. Yeah, that's
right. Because
communicating.
this is a star, right? This is a keeper, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned asking questions. So Troy and I were talking, you got to ask good questions. And that is,
right.
Am I doing it right? It's just something you have to ask. And
right.
people are shy. It's to ask a question, maybe the boss who hired you is very intimidating because they're just that type A personality, the go-getter. They got the big desk, the big office, the door's always closed. Some places, doors always open. And it can be intimidating. And if you pick your phone up to send an email, it's like, wait, am I going to get in trouble? So again, ask good questions. It's a very, very important thing. And
the best thing to ask with the question too is if you're asking the technical expert in the shop who's busy solving all kinds of problems during the day, tell them what you've tried first. So that way they don't say, well, did you do this? It's like, well, I already did that. It's like, tell them where you're stuck, right? So that they can actually pinpoint, okay, I understand what your problem is right now and I can best help you. But if you're just saying, I'm stuck, please help me, right?
Yeah.
That's not a good question.
Definitely happens. Yeah. And double check what you're supposed to do and double check your work. This is the same thing. If they say, did you check it? I'll be right back. Okay.
Right.
Did you double check it? I'll be right back again. Did you triple check it? I'll be just
right.
Can you fire me now and save me the trouble of waiting?
Where do you think the problem is?
Yeah. So that
I don't know. I just hit a problem and gave up and thought I'd ask you.
Try a bigger hammer. Yeah, it's just hit it with a bigger hammer. Just nail it. But you should always do more than expected. Now, here's the thing: my internships, I always do more than expected without being asked. I just do it. It's in my nature. I can't help not do more. It's just when I was a kid, I'm going to do the minimal. But as I got older, and I realized this is my life, this is my reputation, this is my being. I'm going to do more. Now, how far should we go to go that extra mile? That again, it depends, because if you try, like, say I go to Troy, I want to learn system engineering. I know nothing about, I can build a computer as long as I have the videos and the technicals. I took a keyboard apart the other day, put it back together, and it didn't work. So I was without a keyboard for most of the day on Saturday. Not fun. But I got the new one yesterday morning. So here's the deal. I go in, I go, all right, what do I have to do? Put the computers together. Great. And then there's no instructions. Okay, well, guess what? I'm going to find a way to find the videos. I'm going to go the extra mile and get it done. I'm going to double check my work and see what happens. That also means that I'm going to follow the directions and I'm going to take notes as I go. Because if a computer that I put together doesn't work, again, it goes back to the good question. Why isn't it not working? Did you connect the power supply? Let me check my notes. Oh, no. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, now it works. So it's really important. But going the extra mile and following directions, we could go into this forever. I mean, we're going to eventually try to get in somebody who actually is a hiring manager that will walk us through some scenarios without naming names. Hopefully some funny situations, maybe some serious situations, because serious things happen. Just to back up a little bit, when something inappropriate happens, and this has to do with once you're hired as that employee. Now, let's say somebody approaches you with a proposal that you would find offensive, or you're a minor, you're under 18. Oh, wait, no, you're under 21. Sorry. Forgot what year this is.
You dated yourself.
Hey, we're going out for drinks. Why don't you join us? Because they don't know how old you are. Because some people look older, some people look younger. 30-year-olds look 14, 14s look 30. You don't know. Well, what do you say? You're embarrassed. So, okay, you're going to go because of peer pressure. It's that perceived peer pressure. Please be careful of this. Now, if somebody does something to you that's inappropriate, they say something to you that is, I mean, really bad, like suable stuff, and you are terrified that you're going to get fired, or if they touch you in a way, no matter what, and you know that nobody's supposed to touch you, and what do you do? So we're going to get into that in another video, but basically, you need to contact the supervisor. Now, if it's a supervisor, you need to go outside of the organization. You go back to your advisors. If you got it through LinkedIn, I'm just going to say, and we could probably bring in an employment lawyer on this to verify this later, but contact a lawyer. I mean, if it's very egregious stuff, you call the cops. Don't hesitate. Screw the job, quote unquote.
Right.
Just go for it. Yeah. Just throw them under.
Right. And that didn't happen often where in my agency, but it did happen on occasion where nothing, no inappropriate touching or anything like that, but certainly some inappropriate comments and things like that.
Verbal interaction.
Yeah. I mean, the whole, oh, interns get coffee, right? Joking with them and stuff. And it's like, look, that was funny the first time, but, knock it off, right? I'm here to learn. I'm here to, you're not making a very good impression on me. I might not want to come back. Right. So I had to go talk to and like I said, the interns didn't work directly for me in my shop. They were all over the place. Right. So I had to go talk to the supervisor in the organization where the work was being performed and said, hey, if this kind of stuff happens, I'm not giving you any more of my interns. You're not going to have the opportunity to have anybody land in your organization and refresh your workforce, right? You're just going to be stuck with the aging population you already have. So
interesting.
Good luck.
Here's a good question for you. So Noah Lamb, you got to check out Noah's channels too on YouTube. He's got some great food that he shows off in New York City. So he says, sorry, what's the best way to practice asking a good question? So Troy, is there a way that we can formulate a good question for somebody that doesn't know how to ask that? That's a great question, Noah.
Yeah, I was as I was saying this, I was trying to remember the actual formula that I gave during my interns orientation, because we actually spent time on how to ask a question, right? You have to frame it properly, right? When I was doing X, Y happened, and I tried to do Z and it didn't work. Do you have some additional guidance or suggestions on what I should do in this situation? That would be a good example of a good question.
That sounds algebraic because you did the XYZ thing. So let me try to rephrase that into common words for us normal folks that communications. So
not everybody works where math is used all the time. I pushed
the button and that thingy over there fell off, and then I put the thingy back on, but the thingy didn't work. Did I do the thing right, or is the thingy supposed to do that? That actually could be a question. I mean,
yes,
but again, that's
a pretty good question, because it's like you may not know the technical term of the thingy, but that at least clues into the person.
Thing. I just replaced widget instead of widget. I went to thingy.
Right, thingamabob.
Widgets are real. Did you know that?
Yes, they are. We developed. Yes. I used to develop widgets.
Really? Yes, I got 2 in the garage.
Yeah. Well, that's what we just called little helper apps or whatever. They were widgets, plugins.
Oh, no. I'm talking the old school widgets with the razor blade and the handle.
Oh, those. Yes.
The stuff that got egg off your window.
That's
a widget.
Yeah, that's a widget.
That's a widget. Yeah, but now the widgets are digital widgets.
So were those good examples?
Was that a good answer to your question, I hope?
Because there was an actual formula that I briefed to our interns in orientation that frame the problem, right? What was the situation, right? What did you do? Why didn't that work? What did you try? Why didn't that work? Yeah. Any suggestions on what I should do next?
Yeah, actually, that's a great way to do it. So we'll go over another video on that. Again, every one of these components is its own separate series. All right, so we got hired. Well, first of all, we found it. We interviewed it. We got it. We participated in it. And then, unfortunately, all good things
let's come to an end.
Well, it comes to an end. But the other thing that we missed, actually, I forgot one. Stay professional.
Right.
Oh yeah, don't talk
I
about.
alluded to it. I mean,
Yeah,
it was on the screen. We didn't actually say don't gossip, but workplace gossip, the old water cooler conversations. We used to call it roomint where I worked.
really.
Yeah, roomint, rumor intelligence.
Government and their acronyms, man,
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, which reminds me of a joke because we just
Oh,
followed it along. It's
let's
like,
hear
well,
it.
there's roomint, and then if you hear it in the bathroom, that's bathroomint, and then somebody said, no, that's excrement. Uh,
Well, that's a clean, dirty joke. I gotta remember that one. I always say, hey, I tell my class, I'm gonna say, all right, speaking of jokes, for attention getters, you can start your speech off with a joke. But if you're gonna give them a dirty joke, you got to pre-warn people because you got
right.
people that might be offended. So look, I am giving you a disclaimer. This is a real joke. I'm not kidding. This is serious stuff. Listen very carefully. This is the world's second most dirty joke. You will never ever hear this another way, the way I'm going to tell you it right now. You ready? Please don't be offended. Nobody go crying and running out of the room. Ready? A pig fell in the mud. Now, that's the second worst. That's the second. You know what the dirtiest is? Two pigs fell in the mud. So there.
There we go.
And if you can't
Got
tell
the
a
dirty.
joke, don't
Right.
tell a joke. Yeah.
Don't tell a joke. Right.
So stay professional. Yeah.
Yeah. Stay
All right.
professional.
So, and just don't talk about your hangovers. God, when I was a kid, going to the radio station, all the professionals were
Oh yeah.
doing it. And for me to talk about my hangover, I knew that was a no-no. Even I was young and dumb and I knew better. You just don't talk about that stuff. And especially when you're older, you just don't have hangovers, first of all. So be responsible.
Right.
All right. All good things come to an end. Not the video. Don't go. We got
Don't
some
go
more
yet.
things. So what to do after the internship is over and they say, thank you. See ya. Bye. What do you do? What's next?
Yeah. So, if the internship doesn't provide an opportunity for you to have an exit interview, ask for one.
Like a survey.
Like a survey or a sit down that you have with the boss or whoever was responsible for you for the internship opportunity.
Okay.
Ask for a sit down with them. Give them an opportunity to tell you what you did good, what they liked about you, and you give them some feedback on what you liked about the internship.
Good.
Because that, is another opportunity for you to have a positive reflection on the hiring managers at that organization, because you had that meta experiences. Not only were you doing it for yourself, you were also thinking about, hey, maybe these are things that could potentially improve the experience for the next intern that comes along.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
if you're thinking like that, that shows your intelligence, your initiative, all these things that hiring managers really would like to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Hiring managers don't want automatons. You would think they do, but they actually want people. Well, number one, that can communicate and that can interact properly, which is part of communication, and that think for themselves, but yet follow directions. So you're not just this robot doing its thing. Robots follow directions. They don't change. AI is going to change that probably, but that happens. Now, I will tell you,
You can follow directions and you could still be focusing on improving the process. I'm following the process, but I'm focusing on improving it at the same time.
I know the 6 higher education internships that I did, I had to compile a pretty substantial final paper. Basically, this is like 5,000 words. I think one was like 15,000 words. It was up there quite a bit. And then you have to turn in all your timesheets or your time codes, whatever it was that showed that you were there. You had to your notes. I don't know if we turned in our notes. Maybe one teacher, you had like a notebook or like a diary or something. Now, if you wait, say you do a 12 to 15 week program, which is it's fairly, or you even do a 6-week program or half a semester or something, and you wait to the very last week to do it, you are going to forget so much. This is why every single day, every lunch break you get, you take notes. You carry a journal. You carry a pad of paper. I to record onto your phone, I wouldn't do that. I would handwrite this stuff out or type it out, do one of the things. But if you're typing at work and you're not supposed to be typing at work, it kind of looks like you're bad, especially if you're doing it on your phone. A lot of people do that on their phone now. Be careful of that. If you're writing, it looks cool. You look smarter, because everybody does it on their phone. But are you on Instagram or are you typing up notes. So make sure you're doing that, but do it ahead of time. Troy, what's one big thing that people aren't probably doing as much now as we used to do decades ago on the exit? How do you say
Um,
goodbye the right way?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
An actual thank you,
Handwritten
written,
thank you.
handwritten thank you
Handwritten
note.
thank you. Yeah.
Right. Out of all the interns that went through my program the last 4 years, I only got one handwritten thank you note at the end.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, because everything's
Yeah.
digital. Now, here's
Yeah.
a good joke for you. How do you sign your name without picking up the pen?
You write in something that's called cursive.
Yes. And they're not teaching cursive in schools anymore. So if you don't know how to write cursive, don't print. And what I would say is practice it. Write it on a piece of paper first, then go to the card. Make sure the pen's working. Don't use pencil. Use a black or blue pen. Make it official. Don't think, well, my personal bias is just to use red or green or pink and yellow. Yellow. I'm sorry. I don't know why they created yellow ink. Artists can use it, but you can't. It's like invisible
Yeah.
spy ink. You don't use yellow. Use black or blue. It's
Blue.
just so simple. If you happen to find a dark green, that might work, although you're probably not going to find
Yeah.
that nowadays. The
Green
other thing
green
is,
only works for accountants.
yeah, actually, I think they still have. I think I got boxes of colored pencils somewhere. All
I
the
got a green pen right
Crayolas.
here.
You do. I
Yeah.
know. They're behind me. I have every color invented.
And red.
So
Right.
it's the
Accountants use
Crayola
green
pack.
and
Yeah.
red. Yep.
Yeah. I want the big 105 crayon Crayola pack. Some other things too. You could send an email very quick. Text, I'm a big paper trail person, which means leaving a digital trail. And people that do texting, there is a trail. We hear in the news all the time, well, they recapture their texts. But if you got to go back and if you delete text or they're set to delete every 30 days, it's gone.
Yeah.
And if you do a summer internship, say early summer in May, June, and then you come back in September to go back to look at that, it can be cleared out. So sending an email, you've got that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, quick vote. Should we send a thank you through social media? Like create a meme and saying, wow, what an awesome time I had here. Do you think, and I don't even know the answer to this. I'm just, my thinking is maybe, maybe not. It depends on the company and the
Yeah, it
people.
depends on the company, right? It depends
Yeah.
again, right? Because if it's
Yeah.
a company that has a big social media presence, that might be actually taken as, hey, that's pretty cool. They
Yeah.
kind of took what they learned here and thanked us in a way, showing that they learned, how to do this
Yeah.
in our company, right? So
Yeah. I mean, if I had an intern working with me to help me with my channels, I would want to see that. I would want to see
right,
it. Because if they
right.
can't do that, wait, what did they just learn for, weeks and weeks and weeks?
But it's good etiquette to write handwritten thank yous.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, hey, for the bosses out there, you can thank your employees with handwritten thank you notes too. It's okay. They might like it.
Yeah, I used to call that
Really
a
like it.
paycheck when I signed a
Yeah.
check, but yeah, that was my thing because somebody that actually came up. I used to sign a lot of payroll checks until we
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, usually the bosses that will write handwritten thank you notes to their employees when they went above and beyond the call of duty or did something, those people will jump in front of a bullet for a boss like that.
Yeah, not well. I think they call it Secret Service, but which would be a big concern. And speaking of concerns, are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Leave those in the comment. Watch for the upcoming videos. But for now, check out the video on your screen next because that is the one that will reveal more ways that you can strengthen your commitment, your passion, your knowledge, and your success in school, work, and life beyond. Value your internships. And until we see you again, we'll see you online soon. Take care.